one try. Living my life under the same sky. 1,000 voices, none wear my face still. I stand in this crowded space. Not broken, just bending like willow trees. Strong in the wind, swaying with ease. Why fear the unknown when we all have cracks? Why cast the stones when we all look back? Shadows and sunlight, they dance in the air. I'm not a puzzle, I'm just repair. Fighting my battles, one step, one try. Living my life under the same sky. I fear the unknown, we all have cracks. Why cast the stones when we all look back? Shadows and sunlight, they dance in the air. I'm not a puzzle, I'm just repair. Fighting my battles, one step, one try. Living my life under the same sky. It's not what you think, it's not what you see. This world in my head is still part of me. No need to whisper, no need to stare. I'm not a secret, I'm just aware. It's not what you think, it's not what you see. This world in my head is still part of me. No need to whisper, no need to stare. I'm not a secret, I'm just aware.
Okay, hi everyone. Thank you very much for joining. Happy Friday. Happy World Mental Health Day. So excited that all of you could join us today. I'm so sorry. The song, whenever I try to play it on StreamYard, it never is my friend. It starts from one place and then ends at one place. So if anybody knows how to do a quick fix on that, please do let me know. But once again, happy Friday and happy World Mental Health Day. Today is a very, very important day, not just for me, but for other people who have a passion or advocacy for mental health. And what a fantastic day to actually host this episode on What the Duck on schizophrenia. And before we even go any further, I do want to tell everyone that a trigger warning, disclaimer, a trigger warning. There might be some things that will be discussed that may be uncomfortable for a few people, or it could be triggering for them. So, if this is something that could possibly invite some triggers for you or invite some discomfort for you, please feel free to exit, and then you can come back and watch the replay if you'd like. It's up to you, but I just wanted to let you know that up front right now. So today's guest is somebody who I was very lucky to meet on LinkedIn, and thankfully they actually agreed to be a guest because I don't know them personally. I've never met them in person, but Rita is all the way in Ireland, so we are traveling virtually to Ireland to learn about someone who has been a fighter, a resilient person who has had a very long journey to healing and being the amazing person she is right now. And I was very, very excited and thrilled that she said yes to sharing her story with us today. So her name is Rita Burke. And if you want to look up her information on LinkedIn, please go to the comment section or even the event titles. Her profile is tagged over there, so please feel free to reach out and connect with her. Or if you want, I can do an intro, so that's not a problem whatsoever. So, Without further ado, why don't we welcome Rita up on stage? Hi, Rita. Thank you so much for joining. You're on mute.
Oh,
Okay, I unmuted you, Rita. You're good. Ah,
okay. Yeah.
yes, we're here. Yes. How are you doing? Happy Friday.
Yes, I'm great. Thank you. As I discussed with you earlier, we had an amazing conference today. I was one of the organizers, and I came up with the title of the conference is "Recovery is Possible." So I shared my story about how recovery is possible.
And that's what we like to hear, Rita. That's exactly what we like to hear. And as you know, when you and I were having our pre-call, I told you that there's a lot of misconceptions or stigmas around schizophrenia itself, especially because it seems like a lot of people don't understand it. And my goal with what the Duck series is not just talk about like applied theories or applied sciences or whatever have you regarding mental health disorders or diagnosis, but actually talk to people who have those lived experience, who can share their experiences with us so we can get a better idea or better understanding of what those mental health challenges could be. So I really admire you being here. And we've had people from different walks of life in previous episodes, and we got to learn a lot about different things from them. And I know that I'm personally very excited to learn from you, and I'm sure whoever's in attendance right now is also excited to learn from you as well. So why don't we welcome a couple people in? I see three people who joined us who are commenting. This is me, of course, and then this is Timmy was here. Hi from Seattle. And then we have Annie from England joining us. And then we have Kenneth Jr., who we know as Daddy Kenny from Houston or Sugarland, Texas. So far we have a very diverse uh, array of people joining us today. So why don't we go and get started? And then once there's more people coming in, once there's more interactions coming in, then we'll go and address them as well as we go through. So for those who are joining us via comments or just listening, Rita, from your experience, not from your experience, but why don't you tell us who you are? Because I cannot do you justice by telling who Rita is. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, both professionally and, of course, in a personal way as well?
Okay, who is Rita? That's the million-dollar question. Okay, I suppose professionally, I'm a former registered nurse. I trained in Ireland. I have worked extensively. I worked in Australia for a while. Then I moved to the Middle East. That was an amazing experience. I went to my own, 25, moving to an Arabic country, young, white Irish girl. I had an amazing time over there. I actually ended up looking after the royal family, so that was amazing. And then I went on to Germany with them, and I also worked in Switzerland. So I suppose that's who I am professionally, really. And then who am I personally? Well, I suppose number one, I'm a mother. I have a 3-year-old little boy, and I'm a healthcare professional, and I'm also a very active mental health advocate. So I wear a lot of hats. I can't hear you, love.
Sorry, I'm just talking to myself. Okay. So I totally get it because I'm definitely a huge mental health advocate as well. I may not have a PhD or a PsyD or any, certifications or anything like that, but that doesn't mean that I don't care or I don't want to learn. So very glad that you've joined us today. And okay, we'll go back to schizophrenia. So when I was doing some research, I came across this organization called it's called Treatment Advocacy Center,
Hmm.
where they provided us with a schizophrenia fact sheet. And if you don't mind, I want to read some of the facts out loud for whoever's listening to us so they can
Okay, yeah.
understand. So what they mentioned was schizophrenia, and I'm reading directly from their website under schizophrenia fact sheet. They said that schizophrenia spectrum disorders impact 1.2% of US adults ages 18 to 65, which is about 3.7 million people.
Mm.
Schizophrenia spectrum disorders include schizophrenia, schizoaffective disorder, and schizophreniform disorder. That is something I've never heard of before, so it's a great thing to learn about. And they also provided a basic definition, just the simplest definition of what schizophrenia is, and that is schizophrenia is a brain disorder that impacts how a person thinks, feels, and behaves. The National Institute of Mental Health defines schizophrenia as a mental disorder characterized by disruptions in thought processes, perceptions, emotional responsiveness, and social interactions. Although the illness can progress differently among individuals, schizophrenia is typically chronic, persistent, and disabling. And they even provided some common symptoms. They literally went ahead and gave the full fact sheet on what schizophrenia is. And some of the symptoms, I'm not going to go through all of it, but some of them are hallucinations, delusions, paranoia, disorganized thinking, abnormal motor behavior, altered sense of self, and withdrawal, including cognitive impairments. So this is like a summary of what schizophrenia is according to this organization that does focus on mental health disorders. But Rita, we would like to hear from you because you have lived experience, and
Mm.
it would be great for you to tell us, when did you think that or realize that you may have schizophrenia, and how did you go about the whole journey?
Okay, as I said, my story is extremely long, so I'm going to keep it to the fact sheet, right? So my mum had schizophrenia, okay? So I've been surrounded by mental illness since I'm a child, okay? I'm okay. As a teenager, this is the one thing what happened, right? So I was about 15, 16, and I was sitting in my bedroom with my friends, and we were just texting, it was kind of mobile phones were just out not that long. And I started texting her really mean things. And she turned around to me and said, "You know what, Rita, you're schizophrenic like your mother." Definitely then. And then in my late teens, I started feeling very depressed and withdrawn in myself. I went for help with a doctor. He did nothing. He just dismissed me, never asked if there was mental health in my family. And then, take some antidepressants. When I was in college, I knew I had it. I knew I had it. I used to go out socializing with my friends. If I had too much alcohol taken, I could get very aggressive or I could get very emotional. It just, my behavior was not right at all. And then I went to Australia to be a nurse. That was always the plan because that's what Irish nurses do. But to be honest with you, I was running to Australia to get away from my illness. But unfortunately, I found out it doesn't matter where you go in this world. You can't go much further than Sydney, from Dublin. My illness came with me. And I'm trying to get onto where I'm saying what happened is I was kind of all over the place in Australia, and then I was in the Middle East and went back again. Anyway, so June 2010, I went home to Ireland for a holiday, and my family were very worried about me. I was gone extremely thin, like I'm small now, but I was tiny. I was all over the place, and then I was saying to them, "Oh, maybe I'll just I might go to Saudi Arabia." I was just all over the place, and against their wishes, I went back to Australia, right? So when I went back, my mental health went into decline very fast. I had to call in. I was in work. I couldn't concentrate. I had to call in sick, right? And I was living with a girl from the UK, and she was really worried about me. Okay, extremely worried about me. And I said, "Look, I'll be fine," because I didn't really have many friends. She left, right? She left, and I was on my own. And my mental health went into decline. I became very suicidal. I was thinking of jumping off a five-story building. And luckily, I rang a helpline because I would have used that a lot in Ireland, helplines, and they got me an ambulance, right? Straight away, an ambulance was called. So I was admitted to hospital and I stayed the night. And then, unfortunately, the next day, they turned around and discharged me. Okay. That is very bad care. I was admitted in suicidal and they knew I was from Ireland. They knew I had known nothing. They discharged me and I left the hospital. I rang my family. My family were saying, "Rita, you need to come home." So I booked a flight home. And unfortunately, I went around to a few chemists and I took tablets, a lot of tablets. I had chronic diarrhea and vomiting for 4 days on my own. with no one. Those few days were the hardest days of my life. Okay? Can you see what I've gone through? Yeah? I went looking for help,
For
and that's
sure.
the help I got. Okay. Anyway, I went back to Ireland, and now this is about my diagnosis because you had to know that to understand where I'm coming from. Okay. Yeah. As I said, I have an extremely long story, and I'm keeping it as short as I can. So I came back to Ireland. My brother collected me, decided I go to my sister's house. The jet lag passed. I was feeling very lost and withdrawn. My sister brought me to a doctor, and the doctor says this girl needs to go to hospital. So I presented at the nearest mental health hospital. I was admitted. My symptoms were so bad. I'd lost the will to live. I was teary. I was emotional. I was having panic attacks. I wasn't engaging with staff. All I was doing was smoking cigarettes. I was in an awful way. Now, this was my diagnosis journey. I had an excellent consultant, right? And he sat me down and he said, "You know what, Rita?" Because I blamed going to Australia. He said, "No, Rita, going to Australia didn't make you sick. This was going to happen and it could have happened anywhere." Then he turned around and he said what I knew. And do you know what he said to me? He said, "Rita, you've been sick for a long, long time." He says, "A long, long time." And the next thing he said to me, "You have schizophrenia inherited from your mother." And you know what? The day I heard that is the day my recovery began. Do you know why? Because I got confirmation that I had the illness. So that was my journey of my diagnosis. It's very upsetting. It's horrendous what I've had to go through. But you know what? I've reached a stage in life now. I've done a lot of counseling. It's life. I could have got hit by a car. I could have been diagnosed with a terminal illness. So that was my diagnosis journey. It was a long journey. I didn't get diagnosed till I was 26, but he knew this doctor was excellent and it didn't take him long to put two and two together. But the way he sat me down and said, "Rita, going to Australia could have happened anywhere." And he said, "Rita, you have been sick for years." So that was my diagnosis journey.
So, when you talked about all that, it just reminds me of how people around us, they say that you can't run away from your problems because
No.
they'll follow you anywhere.
Yeah.
And this is something that live that we're listening to right now. That hey, if you had been sick, then you take your sickness with you wherever you go.
Yeah.
A location will not change anything. It's
No.
just a matter of how
Time.
you progress, how you take care of your illness. So very much appreciate you sharing this story. And you may have probably shared that with a lot of people outside of course what we're doing right now. But I just want to let you know that I really appreciate you
Mm.
being open about this in front of me and whoever's listening to us right now. So kudos to you, more power to you, and thank you for being brave enough to do that with us right now.
Okay.
So we'll take a break and welcome more people who joined us. And so last thing we had was Kenny, and then now we have Lisa from Trinidad and Tobago, and then we have Annie again, and we have Jeffrey. Hello to you too, Jeffrey. Nice to see you. Thank you for joining. I don't know where you're from, Jeffrey, but I think from the Midwest. And then we have Annie and Kenny just going back and forth. So we've had more people joining us. And folks, if you're listening in, if you have any questions for Rita, please feel free to jot them down in the comment section. And if I'm not showcasing your name in the comments right here, is because I can't see it. Sometimes StreamYard makes those wonderful errors where they don't show every single person who's engaging with us. So my apologies in advance for that. So back to you, Rita. Uh,
Hmm.
and I'm glad that you shared the actual sickness of schizophrenia as a person with lived experience. I want to ask you what you think about how the media portrays it, because I will tell you something. I watch a lot of Law and Order episodes, and a lot of the times they want to tackle in mental health cases with culprits or whatever have you. And each time, like literally every time I've seen it, they've showcased a person who has schizophrenia as someone who is uh, consistently religiously hallucinating, like someone's trying to attack them or voices talking to them in their head. Can you clarify what is incorrect about how the media portrays schizophrenia?
Well, this is just from my point of view now. Okay, so people, I suppose, first of all, They think that people with schizophrenia are very dangerous. And the actual fact is, a lot of people who have schizophrenia are actually victims of violence. Most of it is, do you know why they're violent? Because it's either substance or because they're not getting the correct treatment. That's number one. Another one, people with schizophrenia can't live or work independently. With the right treatment, support, and community inclusion, many people with schizophrenia can work, can go to school, can go to college, can have children. I've done all those things. I have a degree, I have an honours degree in nursing. I've travelled the world. I've held down a job. I have a 3 year old. And I'm a normal person and living in a job. Yeah, so that's another thing. They think medication is the only treatment. It's not. With psychological treatments like CBT, I got a lot of intensive CBT and intensive counselling to deal with my past and my illness. Social support, peer support, wellness strategies, housing, vocational. Another thing that schizophrenia is rare. It's not rare. It's 1 in 100 can have it. So to me, those are the main things. The violence and that they can't live independent lives and medication is the only cure. That's to me. I think those are the main things.
So did you ever have to take it? And sorry if it's a little too personal, but for you, did you ever have to take any medication to?
Yes,
Um,
I was
okay,
put basically when I was in hospital, they were very worried because I wasn't, they were trialing me on every antipsychotic they could. Nothing was working. But there's a medication called clozapine. Have you heard of it?
I have.
And literally, this was my last chance saloon. I was in big, big trouble. I was in hospital a good while. And they don't like people putting it on it because there's so many blood tests and red tape for it. And the doctor turned around and goes, that lovely figure we have, Rita, you're gonna put on weight. And they put me on the clozapine. And it was amazing. They put me on clozapine because I had treatment resistant schizophrenia. And
Mhm.
within 2 weeks, my symptoms started to lift. And about 2 months later, I was discharged from hospital. I was there 6 months. Why? Because of the medication. Then when I had a very bad relapse in 2012, I've been very lucky. I had an excellent consultant and he put me on lithium and within 10 days started to think. So yes, I'm on medication, but the way I look at it is if you've diabetes, you take your insulin. So I've
Mhm.
schizophrenia, I take my clozapine. Like I don't see why there's such a stigma with taking medication because people don't stigmatize someone that takes insulin or if they take L-troxin for the thyroid gland. It's just another medication and I take it and it keeps me well. And I was so lucky with the medication, I went on to become a mom. A lot of people with mental health, especially schizophrenia, don't become kids. And I put my baby to bed tonight before I came here.
Mhm.
And so I don't see the big stigma around medication. You just take your tablet. As I said, you take your insulin with your diabetes. That's just my fact. And I've got absolutely no embarrassment telling people I'm on medication for life because it keeps me well.
That's right. And there's nothing to be embarrassed about either. And if those who are judging or having these weird, crazy ideas about people who take medication for mental health purposes,
Mm.
they can go to hell, right? So
Yeah.
that is up to them. But we did have a question from Annie. But before that, the ones who are our listeners from the United States, Rita has mentioned the word tablet. If you don't know what tablet is, in the US we call it pills.
Pills.
So that's what tablet equals pills. So just wanted
I've
to
been
make
calling it
sure that,
pills now.
yeah, just wanted to make sure that everybody has an understanding of the words and the different slangs and different things that people use in within the English language. So, Rita, Annie wants to ask you, what is the feeling? Do you feel a tangible change from one moment to the other?
What do you mean now? Like,
Annie, why don't you clarify that a little bit and then retype your question if you don't mind? Would really appreciate it. Okay, so we'll wait till Annie comes back with a rewording of that question. Um, so for you, we were talking about okay. One of the things that I wanted to ask is, what would you like for people to understand? about the misconceptions that still frustrate you and surprise you the most? Or what stigmas still confuse you and frustrate you the most?
Having a mental illness. Why is there such, stigma for having a mental illness? It's out there, it's still there, and it's all over the world because I do Zooms with people. It's a mental illness. It's like any other illness. It's an illness of the brain. Why is it still in the year 2025? Is there such a, oh my God, mental illness? You know what I mean? That really, really annoys me. I don't understand. I just like people don't be making these comments about diabetes or different illnesses, but once you say a mental illness, people just kind of look at you. And you see, I'm just such an open person, I'm like, that's the really one thing that really annoys me. Mental illness. Once you mention the word mental illness, it's just people's reactions to you. They just their mouths drop and they don't know what to say. And especially someone like me, I'm just such a straightforward person. I tell people I have schizophrenia. It just doesn't bother me. Like obviously I wouldn't be telling patients in work and stuff. Like that's not professional. But I'm very open about it. So yeah, that's what really annoys me.
I can imagine, because I will tell you something that it took me a very long time to understand the concept of mental illness or someone who needs extra help or mental health day and things like that. I grew up in the UAE, and of course, different people in different continents think about different things in their own respective ways. So for us, whenever we talk about going to, let's say, a therapist for something, it could be a therapy session, the automatic assumption, and I think this is like a very old-fashioned regressive mentality, that if you have to go see a therapist or a psychiatrist, then there's something insanely wrong with you, and that we should stay away from you completely. When that's not the case at all, and when you mentioned the word dangerous, I think that's also what's instilled in people's brains, that whoever anybody who is mentally ill is also quite dangerous, when that's not the case in any way, shape, or form. uh, I talk to a lot of people with mental health issues, and not mental health issues but mental health diagnosis, and no one has been violent with me or horrible with me in any way. Everyone's been pleasant. Everyone's been open about their journeys. No issues whatsoever. Uh, we have two more people. Hi, Aaron from Canada visiting, and then this, not visiting, excuse me, visiting us in this live show. And then we have Timmy asking, I just assume non-US healthcare, non, this, okay. We're going to ignore that one. Thank you, Timmy was here for sharing that. Okay, so the next thing I have for you, Rita, is uh, a positive experience that you've had with the Ministry of Mental Health in Ireland. Can you tell us about that?
Oh, I meant, yeah, the Minister for Health, is it?
Yes.
Yeah, it was absolutely amazing. I was invited to a conference. I was representing people with mental health illnesses, and it was all about AI, and online healthcare. And they
Hmm.
were talking about, oh, we'll have online therapy sessions, and I was getting really annoyed. I was like, what the hell? Like an online therapy session. You know, I just think they was so impersonal. It should
Hmm.
be one to one. So it was actually really good. I shared a story. I said to them back in 2012, I was feeling suicidal again. So the plan was I'd have to go up to like a healthcare center 9 to 6 every day so they could keep an eye on me. And every evening when I was walking home, I felt like jumping off a bridge. And I went in one day and a nurse goes, Rita, what's wrong with you? She knew there was something wrong with me. And I burst into tears and I told her what was happening, and they brought me to hospital again. It was like that phone call in Australia. This nurse saved my life. She was such a good nurse. She just knew. So I said this to the minister. And then there was another consultant. He was from a different country. He was over, educating. And he turned around and he said, okay, Rita, we spoke at lunchtime and I knew you were very unwell. And what they promised me and they guaranteed me, they said, look, we understand when someone is very, very unwell. They need their nurse, they need their doctor, and they need to meet a counselor on one-to-one basis, like I got. And I was just so happy with the way the minister treated me and with the way the doctor stepped in, that they were saying, look, AI is not going to take over mental health. If someone is crying, what they were kind of saying, Rita, could you do online counseling now? I was like, oh yeah, of course I could. They're like, that's what you mean. Someone who's in the recovery journey like you can get online counseling. And then obviously someone that's very vulnerable will get one-to-one. And here in Ireland, they're amazing. Actually, the government in Ireland and even the minister, they're all about co-production. You know what co-production is?
I don't know, but please do tell me or tell us.
Co-production is people like me with the lived experience. We work with our local, with the, like say, with the Department of Health in Ireland to try and improve the services here. So we are very lucky here in Ireland at the moment. We've got I'm in so many different projects at the moment helping out, but it's so for the lived experience person, and they want to hear from us. So that's what I want to say. I was really impressed that day. I really was impressed. They were so down to earth, and they listened to me when I told him that story. I was like, that nurse, the way that nurse was able to, that something is wrong with you, Rita. And I burst out crying, and I told her how I felt, that every day I was leaving, I was getting suicidal thoughts and I wanted to jump off a bridge. And I have attempted, and I could have done it, you know? So
Mhm.
yeah, I'm very happy here in Ireland. I don't know what it's like in the States, but we're very lucky here. There's a lot of people trying to change the mental health here in Ireland.
Oh, I don't want to say anything on behalf of the states because we have a therapist who's here. So I will probably allow Dr. Qureshi to share some of the information if she has any regarding mental health matters within the United States. But definitely, as Aaron says, go Ireland. Good for them for actually working on making it a better place for its citizens. So that is definitely great. And you said the word listening, and I cannot emphasize enough on the word listening, because sometimes that's all that really takes for one person to listen to you, so to feel like, okay, you're not insane, that there's nothing wrong with you, and then you feel like you have some hope to live. And that's all it takes. It takes 2 seconds to sit down and listen to someone and understand what they're saying or understand what they're feeling before just
Well,
assuming.
he was a minister. You know what I'm saying to you?
Yeah,
You can't get much higher than the minister for mental health. But she was such a lovely person, and then at the end of the conference, she was like, "Out of everyone who came here today, I'm so glad Risha's here."
that is so great. That is actually very exciting. I'm very, very happy for you. And I'm glad that you're sharing that awesome journey with us today as well.
Yeah.
So Aaron says, break down the stigma, big burly hugs, not just for me, but for Rita as well. And then Dr. Qureshi is here. Thank you very much for sharing your story. And I agree. She says 966 crisis hotline. Okay. Uh, that is the place that we can go to. And there you go. All right. So now, since you have shared your journey, personal journey, and we all know that this is only from Rita's perspective, this is not applicable to everybody who has schizophrenia or who is living with schizophrenia. So, from your perspective, then, Rita, from your point of view, if there is somebody out there who's listening to you right now,
Mhm.
and if they know that there might be somebody, let's say in their family, in their friend circle, or in their work environment, who may be living with schizophrenia, how can that person support uh, the person who may have schizophrenia? Friends,
Well,
family.
they need to understand that this person isn't well. They could have a physical illness, They're
Mm,
not well. They need support. They don't need judgment. They don't need harsh comments. They need love. They
mhm,
need tender, loving care. They need guidance. They need support. Try and link in with their doctor, link in with their mental health team. They should find out what the plan of care is. What are they going to do for this person? Do they need to be hospitalized? Are they going to be on medication? What's the long term plan? Um, and let them know recovery is possible. I mean, if I recovered, come on, I was unwell for years, 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 years. I managed to get an honours degree from one of the top universities here in Ireland, and I was unwell, and I worked all over the world. So I suppose they need link in as well with different mental health charities. That's what I did in Ireland. We had a very brilliant one here called Shine, and I linked in with them, and the support I got from them. They need to get counselling, CBT, DBT. There's so many different types out there. Support, time. It takes time to recover. Like the first time I got sick, it took me 4 years to recover. When I had the relapse after my son, it was a lot faster because of the treatment I got, but it takes time. That's really what I would advise: time, guidance, love, take an interest in them, educate yourself on the illness. Look out for the signs. There's two types of schizophrenia. My mum had the positives where she used to like hallucinate and hear things. I had the negative form. The negative form is when you withdraw, intercept, you get depressed. They're different types, but clozapine treats both types. And I suppose just hope that they can get through it and link in with charities. That's what the main things you can really do.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for that empathetic answer and then full of compassion and sympathy. I can only imagine how difficult it must have been for you in the start, and
Mm,
now how you can educate the people now, moving forward, and also what signs to look out for,
mm.
to support the people in their lives who might be living with schizophrenia. We have one question that came in from Peter. What hallucinations, delusions, disorganized thinking, or speech and/or changes in motivation and social interaction do you and or did you have? How often would and or does this happen?
As I said there, I didn't have um like I didn't see and hear things. I just got very, very depressed, withdrawn. I had a symptom called anhedonia. It means that you can't experience pleasure. It was my
Mm,
mum who would have had the hallucinations. Disorganized thinking, yeah, I had that. Disorganized speech, I had all of that as well. But as I said, like I got sick in June 2010 is really when I got sick. And guys, it wasn't really till 2014 that I got better. It took me 4 years to recover, to be honest. And I mean, I had relapses, not relapses, but times that I was unwell during it as well. So it was a long haul for me, guys. And I tell you, I put so much effort into getting well. I did everything I could.
mhm. And look where you are. You're doing really well, really awesome all over the place. So that
Yeah, I'm
is,
I'm very happy. Life is very good at the moment, thank God.
yes, that is amazing. And then we have another question from Annie. Is there a different feeling from when schizophrenia is active to when the illness is under control and you are feeling well?
Oh yes. Okay, just leave that question up there, will you, so I can read it. Is there a different feeling from? Yes. Okay. So when I was had my symptoms, I was suicidal. Okay.
Mhm.
So you can't really get worse than that. And yes, it's very controlled. I'm on my medication. I'm very stable. My thoughts aren't racing. I don't go boom, 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 boom. I'm not high. I mean, sometimes I get upset, but that's just life. Things in life can upset you. But I think with the medication that I'm on, and again, it took them years for them to get my medications right. I mean, I started on that clozapine in 2010, and then I wasn't put on lithium 2013, and then so it took about 5 years for my medication, to find the correct dosage and therapy of medication. But I've been on that since 2013. So yeah, there definitely was. I went from being suicidal to this. So I mean, you can't really get different, can you?
Oh,
And
definitely
can I
not.
just say one thing? Can I just say one thing, guys? I didn't want to die when I was in Australia. What was I, 25 years of age. I had my whole life ahead of me. I didn't want to die. I just wanted the pain to end. There's a difference there. I was experiencing such pain. I just couldn't handle the pain anymore. But I didn't want to die. And I'm so glad I made that phone call in Sydney, guys, because I wouldn't be here today. Or if that nurse in that mental health centre hadn't said, Rita, what's going on? I wouldn't be here today. you know.
That, and I am personally so glad that you made that call, Rita, because you're here right now doing all these wonderful things globally, not just in Ireland, to educate and then bring awareness to different people, and also for your mental health advocacy.
Well, I'm just trying to get this thing out here. This is what I want to get out, and this is why I want my story to get around the world, because I have a very interesting story to tell. First of all, that stigma about mental health and schizophrenia. And I want people, not even with schizophrenia, with other mental health illnesses, to know that recovery is possible with the right help and support. I've been very lucky. I've had brilliant doctors and brilliant nurses, but you can get better and you can recover, you know? And I mean, I relapsed after my son, and I got, because of the treatment I had to get, it was horrific treatment, but I had to get it. I made a very good recovery very quick. And I knew when my mental health team said to me, Rita, you have to go into hospital, and I had to leave my 6 month old baby, that this time I wanted to go to hospital because I knew, because you know why? Because I knew in the back of my head that I would recover. Because you know what? I did it before, I'll do it again. And that was in the back of my head when I was in hospital. I had a horrible time. Obviously, I didn't have a horrible time, but like, would you like spending 6 months in a psych hospital? I don't think you wouldn't. And then I had to get the electroconvulsive therapy on top of it, you know, and that was tough going. Now that was tough going, I'll tell you. But you know what? I'm here, and as I said, I put my little boy to bed, and I gave him a kiss, and I gave him a bath, and I'm here with you now, trying to get my story out there, and trying to, and I'm actually a very genuine advocate because I am a registered nurse, so I have that caring nature anyway. But and I want you to leave here, and if you do your other podcasts, say I had Rita on, and she is getting the word out there. Recovery is possible. As I said, the name of my conference today is called Recovery is Possible. I am recovery. Sorry, I get very passionate. I'm sorry.
No, that passion is great. Passion is what makes the world go round, right? We cannot progress in what we're doing if we're not passionate about it. And I think Dr. Misha, I'm sorry, not Misha, Dr. Qureshi is asking the same question that I was just about to ask you. And that was around how was trauma work healing incorporated in your treatment?
I'm going to tell you now. I wrote it out because I'm just so passionate. Okay, trauma informed care was a turning point for me in my mental health recovery, because before this approach, I often felt misunderstood. Are you listening, guys? I felt dismissed and withdrawn. Understanding the root, not the symptoms. That's what they wanted, the root. So instead of saying to me, what happened to you, Rita? Or sorry, what's wrong with you, Rita? They'd say, what happened to you? This simple shift made me feel seen and heard. Are you listening? This is very important. I had to write it out because I'm so passionate about trauma. It acknowledged that my behaviors and emotions, it wasn't me being crazy. These were survival instincts. Everything, all these symptoms, it was just survival. I was feeling safe. Maybe for the first time, I felt safe with these practitioners. One of the biggest barriers to my healing was lack of emotional and psychological care. Yeah,
Mm.
okay. The trauma informed, they gave me consistent, respectful boundaries, no judgment, okay. Professional peers who asked for consent, they listened actively. Are you listening, guys? Because this is very important. This is what we need to be doing in mental health centres in Ireland, in the States, in Australia, everywhere. And they validated my experiences. For the first time, I wasn't just a diagnosis or a file. You know what I was? I was a person. I wasn't with Rita with the schizophrenia or Rita the file. I was Rita, a person. Okay. Then I started to believe in recovery. The trauma informed care didn't cure me overnight. As I said, it took me 4 years to get back to some normal living, but it planted the belief that healing is possible, that I wasn't broken, that I could live beyond my survival. That belief and the safe spaces in hospital, I felt safe. I knew I couldn't, attempt to end my own life, and it became the foundation of my recovery. So I'm sorry I had to write that out because I was just so passionate. I wasn't a file, I was an actual person like they were. Like, it's different when I was a registered nurse. The person, they were a person, but it's a different, they were in with their physical problem. But I just found in mental health, you're not a person. You're Rita with schizophrenia or you're a file. So that was my trauma informed.
That is so great. And thank you, Dr. Kurish, for asking the same question I was just about to ask Rita. Great minds obviously think alike. And so when you were talking about this is something that I've noticed. I live in San Francisco, so it may be a very different experience than people who might live in like other states. But uh, I worked with people who were unhoused and people who were in different situations, and a lot of the people who were unhoused had a lot of mental health conditions. And then I got to start thinking about it. The healthcare system in the United States is so expensive. So I don't know how it is in Ireland. Did the government take care of?
Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
everything. I paid for nothing. They gave
They,
my medication and they had me in hospital for 6 months. And I've been in hospital twice on two different occasions in two different hospitals for 6 months because I was so unwell. But I never got charged and all my medication was free.
See, I think that's why we're falling behind, at least in the
Yeah.
United States, where everything has to come out of the person's pocket because insurance isn't all that helpful either. And which is why, because medical expenses are just so much that not every single person can afford it.
Mhm.
So when you talk about doctors and nurses and treatments and medications, I think that's one of the drawbacks of receiving care, because it's so expensive for the average American just to pay a medical bill. I have two other questions that came in from two people. Annie says, "Is there a different feeling from when schizophrenia is active to when the illness is under control and you are feeling well?"
I answered that already.
Oh, Annie, why are you writing the same thing twice? Okay. And then Peter, what are all you doing to increase awareness? What
I'm
all are you?
here. I'm here on a Zoom call or whatever to the States. That's what I'm doing. I'm getting my story out there. I have another guy lined up in Canada. I have another guy from New Zealand wants me to get in contact with him. I'm very active on LinkedIn. I'm very open because I'm here talking to all of you, telling you my life, my private life, openly on the internet. I don't care what people think. I'm here because I'm a genuine person and I want to stop that stigma that surrounds mental health. So, Peter, that's what I'm doing.
Passion is powerful. Don't be sorry for it. Absolutely. And then Kenny says, Rita, never apologize for sharing your beautifully well articulate, eloquently stated, heartfelt thoughts of passion, love, support with us today. So, all right. So, Rita, we only have 10 more minutes, and everyone else, we only have 10 more minutes till we end today's show. So, if there's
Wow.
anything else that you would like to ask, please feel free to share in the comments. And then also, please do connect with Rita if you'd like to learn more about her or connect with her about.
Anyone to connect. Now, guys, I can't give you advice on mental health because I'm not a certified psychiatrist. I can only talk from my view and what worked for Rita. I can't. Not
Mhm.
everything I say works for everyone because in the that recovery is different from every single person. It's not like if you were in with, say, I don't want to name an illness, right? But we'll just say you had a physical illness. That's how you treat it because you give this blood, you give that medication. In mental health it's so different and recovery is so different for every single person has a different recovery. So I can only talk from what I know and my experience, but I can't give out medical experience or what should I do because I'm not a psychiatrist. So people need to realize that.
Absolutely. So, connect with Rita to just learn about
Yeah.
schizophrenia or learn about her, but do not ask for advice on how to treat something or someone or what kind of treatment would work. So, we're here to
So
network.
what I can do is you could ask me, I could definitely signpost them. There's a brilliant peer support group here in Ireland called Better Together, and I've had two people from the UK contact me, and they're from the UK, contact me, and I said, I'm sorry, I can't. But what I did is I signposted them to this amazing peer support, and it's online, so it doesn't matter. It's in Ireland, it's online, everything's on WhatsApp, so I can definitely signpost people to getting help. Yeah, that's no problem. I know some really good organizers, and again, it's international because it's online. Everyone's on WhatsApp and everyone's on Zoom. It doesn't matter. And even with the time difference, you'll still work it out. see what they do is they do a check-in in the morning and they do a check-in in the evening. So you're going to get one of the check-ins, you know. So definitely, and it's called Better Together. In case anyone needs to check that out, it's called Better Together. Definitely look them up, guys. They did so much. I can't use them that much anymore because I'm back working and I have a 3-year-old, so I'm busy, you know. But they are amazing and they do amazing things. And we actually have a few people from the UK on it, so definitely look them up. And maybe you can put it up in your posters or something after. It's
Yeah,
a
I'll
simple
post
name, Better Together. It's called.
Better Together, and also the fact sheet that I was referring to earlier about schizophrenia. So both those informations could be available for anyone who's here or joins us later or does a replay. So awesome. That is great. Thank you so much for sharing that, Rita, and everyone else as
Mm.
well. So my other question, I think, not I think, but my definitely other question is for someone who has been newly diagnosed with schizophrenia, what would you like to share with them when they feel overwhelmed? What's one public narrative you'd like to change about schizophrenia?
Okay, they have power now because they know what's wrong with them. Okay, I was different. I knew I had schizophrenia because my mom had it. Okay, so it wasn't like I was walking into the mental health center and this doctor didn't know. You know what I'm saying to you? So you get power. You know your illness. Okay, so you can know next thing. How is your illness treated? What's going to happen? You have a thing called a care plan. The doctors and nurses have a care plan for you. And within that care plan, it's all about recovery. I don't know about in the States, in Ireland, it's all about recovery. From the minute someone goes into hospital now, they start to plan their recovery. So they should feel, how to say, like relief that they know what has been causing like their behavior and their thoughts and everything. It was caused by an illness. And you know what? It's not their fault. It's not their fault. They have an illness, like as I says, a physical illness, a mental, it's an illness in the end of the day. I wish that word mental and physical just go, an illness, okay? And they have power now because they know what has caused everything that's happened to them, and they can work with their nurses and their doctors and their therapists and their family to get better. And they should know that recovery, I would love them to be able to talk to someone like me, a peer advocate like me, to let them know recovery is possible with the right help and support. You know, I wouldn't dramatize it. Do you know what I'm saying to you? I would keep things very simple. They're very vulnerable. They're just after being diagnosed with a mental illness, as we say, a mental illness. So you need to
Mhm.
be very, very careful around them and tell them it's going to take time. As I says, I got sick in 2010. It really wasn't until 2014 that my mental health started to improve and I was able to go back to work and get back living. So I lost 4 years of my life, you know.
Mhm. For sure. And it's so great to actually hear this from someone like you, someone who has lived experience versus, again, like I said in the early part of this interview about applied sciences, because applied sciences is not really the same as someone who's actually lived it, and they can
Mm,
actually share real life uh real life therapy, real life treatment, real life healing
mm.
processes. Because like you said, every healing is different from one person to the other.
Yeah. Well, I suppose being a nurse as well kind of helped me because I understood medication and everything like that. So definitely, and I think that's what makes me a very strong advocate because when I'm working in different projects here in Ireland and they be talking medical, the psychiatrist, and I understand everything they're talking about when they're talking about medicines and stuff like that and bloods and everything. So I
Mhm.
suppose that's what kind of steps me aside from people, the fact that I am a registered nurse and I have the lived experience. There's not many people like me, so I suppose that's what kind of makes me a strong advocate, so yeah.
For sure, absolutely. And once again, you have no idea how much I appreciate you being here, Rita, and sharing your story, and just like everyone else who's been sharing their appreciation for you being here. So
Hmm.
I think my last question, because we have 5 minutes left, or actually 4 minutes left, is you talk a lot about advocacy, mental health advocacy. So what's next for you aside from going around the world and doing talks and things like that?
Well, I suppose at the moment I'm just trying to figure out exactly what area I want to work in because see, I cover so many different groups. I have people with schizophrenia, I've got people with serious mental illness, I've got perinatal women, and I've postpartum women. So, as I
Mhm.
said, at the moment, I'm just going with the flow and see where it leads me. I'm not going to overthink it. Just as I said, I'm here tonight with all of you wonderful people. This time last year, I didn't know I'd be doing this. God knows what I'll be doing this time next year. So, I'm going to sit back and just see where I'm going to go to work, look after my baby and work on getting a new career, but I'm not rushing it. And as I said, I've so many because I could go down the recovery avenue, I could go down lecturing. I've so many different areas I can specialize in. I'm just gonna see where life brings me and not overthink it. That's really my plan.
That is an awesome plan. Going with the flow and where life takes you. I think that's the best thing that we could all do right now instead of planning so much and then getting disappointed afterwards that
Yeah.
if something doesn't work out. So with that, Rita, we're coming to time, and I just want to let you know once again, thank you for basically dealing with me for the past month or two to
No,
make
you're
this
amazing.
happen, and we finally did it, and it was awesome that it just happened to be on World Mental Health Day that we were
Yeah.
talking about this. So kudos to both
Yeah.
of us, and kudos to everyone else for joining us, and
Thank you all.
yeah, thank you so much, every single human being who's here and openly listening to what Rita had to share about her story, her life, her diagnosis, her journey, her everything, and learning from her with her from her journey and being a little bit more sensitive to different people who may not be like you, especially when it comes to the the phrase mental illness. So, and I also want to say thank you very much to Erica Spring. If you're here, Erica, thank you very much for sponsoring today's episode or today's show. I really appreciate you. And, but yeah, uh, please let stigmas take a back seat. Talk to people like they're human beings, not that they're somebody who are, you know, not human. And let them live and be supportive. Lend an ear when it happens. If there's someone who's struggling, or you can tell that they're struggling, lend them your ear for maybe 1 minute, 2 minutes, whatever, however many long minutes it takes, because that can change the world for that person. And you don't have to be like a medical expert or anything like that. You can just be a friend and make positive improvements in not just your life but everyone else around you. So, with that being said, happy Friday to everybody and happy Saturday to anybody who is in different continents aside from the UK and the US. I hope you have a fabulous, fabulous rest of your day and weekend. Take
Bye,
care, everyone.
guys.
Bye.
Well.